Awesome. Well, thank you everyone again for joining us today. My name is Ryan Rodriguez, and I'm a product marketing manager here for BarTender. With me today, I have our senior sales engineer, Roberto Posada, who will be conducting the label design instruction in just a few moments, and another one of our top sales engineers, Stephen Watkins. Next slide. We have a pretty full agenda today. We'll be diving into BarTender and its designer tool, followed by the label creation instruction. After that, we'll head straight into our Q&A session and end with some additional resources that you can access for any additional needs or questions that you may have. Next slide. So for anyone who is not as familiar with us, we're Siegel Scientific, the creator of BarTender software. BarTender is the leading label management solution that helps companies connect their labeling and RFID tracking, business data and systems, and their printing operations to enable transparent, resilient, and lower cost supply chains. Today, we've helped over 250,000 businesses print over 100 billion labels in over 175 countries. Next slide. We have over 35 years of expertise in barcoding, reading, label design and printing, and printer drivers. All of this has allowed BarTender to become the #1 label management solution in the world. Our labeling solution is easy to use and yet powerful because it operates at the center of our customers' labeling ecosystem. It connects their business data and business systems to their labels, and then those labels to their printers, which provide high performance optimized printing from anywhere, anytime. We also support the latest barcode and RFID encoding standards, including GS1, GHS, UDI, and FDA 21 CF Part 11, and more. Next slide. And I'll be passing it over to Roberto for here.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the intro, Ryan. And I want to thank everybody for joining our session today. We are going to keep it as dynamic as possible today. We're going to talk about label design. So first, before we start talking about label design, we have to understand something. BarTender, the software, comes in 4 editions: Starter, Professional, Automation, and Enterprise. Now, regardless of the edition you have, all editions will have the design tool. And if you think about it, that's it's fundamental, it's paramount, right? You know, it doesn't matter if you're on a starter or all the way up to enterprise, you need to be able to create and design your barcodes, your RFID cards, your plastic cards. You need to encode specific data into these barcodes or RFIDs. You might want to automate something, but in essence, everything starts from the design tool, right? Because you have to put together the label, you have to put together the variables. And regardless of the edition, that is where you're going to live. That is where you're going to start. So Starter will give us that tool, will let us tie us to Excel and flat files. Professional expands on that, where you're able to connect to any database. We're database agnostic. Here in the professional level, you have no RFID, you have data entry forms. At the automation level now, you have REST API. You have integration builder that allows you to automate the label that you created. With Enterprise, now you have full control of the label lifecycle. So you're able to dictate when it's going to be in production, when it's going to be in design, or who is the people that are going to be able to take that into review and then take it to production. So each edition serves its own purpose, but all of the editions have the design tool. In our design tool, it's created for anybody to be able to create labels. It doesn't matter how proficient you are, you are going to be able to create a template. I like to tell people, if you're able to put together a PowerPoint, you'll be able to put together a label using the designer. Simple, precise, and flexible. That is something that is very important. We want to give you the flexibility. Any font, we support any font that is installed on that computer, any graphic as well. So it could be a PDF, it could be a JPEG. It doesn't matter. We're database, we're graphics and fonts agnostic. Using the drag and drop functionality allows us to quickly create a template, and you'll see that today. What you see is what you get in real time. Very, very important for the person that is creating the template, because that is what he wants, what he's seeing on the computer. That's what he wants it to go on when it prints. With intelligent templates, we're able to handle multiple variations of a template without having complications of creating multiple labels. We'll show you that in the demonstration today, and we'll show you how we are able to encode some RFID. Now, you might ask yourself, well, Roberto, what labels are you able to create? And I say, any kind. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what industry you belong to or you work in. You would be able to create using BarTender. You'll be able to create that label. That could be pharmaceutical. That could be chemical. That could be the food and beverage, transportation, supply chain. And if I didn't mention your vertical, it is included there because it's much more. And you could see some label examples here. And these are labels that you could create using BarTender. Now, talked a lot, not a lot, but somewhat. Let's go into the instruction. Let's go into the demo. Let's create a label today using Designer. Now, the label that I'm going to create today is going to be, let's call it a UDI product label. And in this product label, we are going to create a graphic interface for the operator. Well, I rather, all of us like really much using Excel or any database. I feel today we're going to demonstrate how we create an interface for the operator and create the label. So you don't have to start from scratch. This is something I really like demonstrating, especially when we talk about label design. You don't have to start from scratch. You could download BarTender right now, and BarTender comes with all of these templates installed, multiple verticals. So we could see automotive, and there is a couple templates there. That is a label there. See automotive, we see food, multiple food nutrition labels as well. GS1, you might be looking for shipping. We have multiple shipping labels. We have a PTI voice pick code one. We could use that one. The idea is that what I'm showing you or demonstrating, showcasing here is the fact that you don't have to start from scratch. You could use any of these, and we're going to pick one of the logistics so you could see, and it's GS1, and we're going to say GS1 logistics, and we want the SSCC only. And we're just going to select and open it so you could see. We're going to click on finish, so it takes us all the way to the label. And that is how easy it is to get a label that comes included with the software. And you could then start modifying and changing and editing from there whenever BarTender decides to wake up. Now here, and it's early in the morning, and it's my computer. But anyways, here we could see the form, but ultimately this is what I want to show you. This is a template. It's ready to go, right? All you really have to do is pass the data. In this case, it's going to ask for the SSC number and then the company description and anything. We've created this, comes with a form, so it does have a graphic interface to it. And here we could see. So it asks for the extension digit, the company, GS1 company prefix, and serial number. So something similar we're going to do today, but we're going to do it from scratch. So we're going to say no to that change, and we're going to create a new template. We're going to say new template. We are going to say blank template because we're going to specify everything. One of the advantages of BarTender is that we talk to any printer driver as long as there is a as long as there's a Windows driver or if you have a SQL driver installed. So you could see we play with any manufacturer. We're printer agnostic as well. Today I'm going to select my RFID printer. And then we're going to specify settings for it. We're going to say we're going to do custom settings. There is no material on the edges. We're going to say it's rectangular. This is the wizard that goes through the template for us. We're going to say next. We're going to shrink this down to 3.5 by 2.5. Here we could switch it up if we wanted a landscape, if we wanted a mirror image, if we wanted a negative. And BarTender is so helpful because it tells you what's going on. And you can see the mirror image, or you could see how it switches up and lets you know, gives you a visualization how it's going to get printed. So we're going to say, instead of that, we're just going to do portrait. We're going to do next, and we're going to finish. And that, sir, it is how we are able to get to a template. Now, within the template, you could see the word feel to it, right? New, open, save. This one is page setup, so it takes us back to the wizard, database connection, to print, to preview, copy, paste, and all of the tools we're used to. We have barcodes as well. So let's bring in a barcode. The first thing we'll do today is bring in a barcode. We're going to bring in multiple barcodes, right? We work closely with GS1, so all of the barcodes that you could imagine exist within the BarTender software. Today, I'm going to pick a GS1, and I'm going to go into the data matrix. That is the one I need. And this is how you go and select the barcode. Click on the barcode. From the list, you pick, you select. BarTender would automatically let you know what it's going to do on the mouse. So it has that little barcode, and I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but it has a little barcode. So we're dropping the barcode here, and look at that. That's the barcode. So within BarTender, anything you drop or create will always have a variable or properties. I'm sorry. So we're going to go inside of the properties of the barcode because we're going to configure this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want the data at the bottom is called the human readable. So I want the human readable to be on the right side instead of the bottom. So I have the flexibility of saying alignment is centered, which is fine. The placement should be on the right. Now, not just that, I want each line to break. So I'm going to say I want a line break after each application identifier. The other thing too is I don't like spaces. So I'm going to say I don't want any spaces. I just want parentheses only. So it gives me the application identifier and then the data for that application identifier. So we got that first done. Let's go ahead and delete this one too. Now we're going to manually create these, and we're going to go into the symbol and size, and I'm going to use the wizard. And this is something that I always advise. If you're going to use GS1, use the wizard. It makes your life easy because you don't have to create the additional variables for the application identifiers. BarTender will create it for you intelligently. So we're going to say GS1 application identifier. And we're going to add 3 application identifiers. The first one we're going to add is the G10. So we're going to say G10. Good. We want the G10. And it's going to ask me, where's the data from the G10? Those 13 digits, where is it coming from? So I'm going to say it's embedded data because it's going to be typed in or scanned by somebody. So we're going to say next. We still need to append another application identifier. Now, why do I want to use the wizard? Because all of the application identifiers are there. And let's say, for example, I want to create a lot one. So I say lot. You could search for it, right? Or if you know the application identifier number, you could search that way. So makes your life easy when creating these objects. So we're going to say instead of database field that's coming from embedded data because we want to type that in, we have lot, and the next one we're going to add is serial, which is 21. And here we're doing the same thing, making sure it's embedded data. We'll do next, next. No, and that was done. That was only 3 application identifiers that we're adding, and we'll click finish. So now we have, you know what? We've added a couple of ones that shouldn't have been. We're going to do that again, and we're going to go really fast because it added, I think, expiration date, and I didn't want that. So you saw that what I did was a Control Z. So yes, we have Control Z, similar to Word. So we're going to say G10, which is fine. Next. I'm going to do that again. Embedded data. Next. We're going to append another one. It's going to be the lot this case. Lot. It is going to be embedded data again. And we're going to append the last one, which is serial number. Next. Embedded data. Next. No, I don't need any more. And then I'll click finish because that was everything. Now we could see it's only 3 application identifiers. Perfect. Now we have a barcode, but I want to be able to pass this barcode information. So for that, I'm going to create a variable. What we call variables in BarTender are called named data sources. So I'm going to call this G10. I'm going to do OK for the G10. I know I need lot as well, so I'm going to do lot. I'll do serial number. And notice that once I'm creating these variables, they show up here on the left side. So G10 lot serial, these are variables that could be used for data entry. They could be used to automate. They could be used to REST API. The idea is that you have to let a BarTender the label know these are variables and they could be dynamically changed depending on the data that I send. So that is another of the BarTender mantras is give me your data and I will print it for you. How do you get the data? It's the important aspect, right? Manually typed, database, or automated via web service or REST API. but we're strictly here for today for label design. So we're gonna pull this one here, looks good. Now I want the operator to know what each one is. So I'm gonna start creating some UDIs. The other thing too is I'm gonna create something so we all know what we're here for. Not normal, I'm just gonna say normal. And then I'm gonna bring a text. Text is simple. I go to the A and bring a text here. So today it's label design with bartender. So we know this is what we're doing today. So that's how you add a label. That is how you add a barcode. Now, for a couple of these UDIs, I'm going to use always the A, and I'm going to go into the symbols and font. Within the symbols and font, we have multiple symbols through the font library. So we could go in through each one. We have medical devices if we wanted to. We could take a look at all of the fonts that we have available. So there might be some GSH that you're going to use, and you could use from here directly, or you could import your font that contains all of your GS1s. So I just wanted to show you the ones that I'm going to use today are going to be serial number and lot. So the first one is serial. I'm going to push it there, shrink that down. And now the operator will know this is the serial number. I need to do the same thing with lot. Go to symbols and font, and we have lot. I'll drop that down there, and then I could shrink and then position where I wanted to go. So I'm going to say on this one is the lot. Still missing the GS1 as well. So I know this is GS1. Now for this one, I'm going to use something that I use is called components. So within my components, there are objects that I'm able to use within BarTender in multiple other labels. So I could use this in another label. And look at the G10. I'm bringing the G10 here. And I know that is my G10. I need to modify that so it matches. I'll do 0.5. And then I will have to shrink it down so it fits. Do the same thing with the G10. Now, notice that this is an object that I've created, so that's why it's two objects. The other one is just, it's a font, so I don't have to move both objects. And then I had another G10 up here that I jumped by mistake. So now we have G10 lot serial number. Within my components, I still have another one because I want to declare this as a recyclable object as well. So how do you recycle this? Now, we're still missing a couple UDIs. And we're going to create variations within this template using layers. Now, the first thing we need to create is a variable called variation. So we're going to go into name data sources and create a new variable called var. Today, bartender. So we'll say var, click next. It is embedded data. We'll click finish. Now, inside of the embedded data, I'm going to leave A because we're going to have variation A, B, and C. Now, within to create those variations, that's what we call intelligent templates. So I'm going to create the variation. I'm saying new layer. I'm going to call this one A. When does A print? That's the important thing. That is that it is the conditional printing. We're going to say it's right now it says always. But no, we're going to conditional print this, and we're going to say this is only going to print when var equals A. Cool. So we have a variation. Now we're going to create another variation. We'll call this V and say the same thing. This will only print when the variation equals B. Second variation. Now we'll do the third one. And this is how easy it is to create multiple variations. Imagine the variation would be a logo. It might be that the other variation needs an expiration date. So we could put the expiration date in that layer. It's similar to when we use, let's say, Adobe Photoshop. Within Photoshop, you have multiple layers. It's the same concept here with Designer. You have multiple layers that are going to print based on data that you pass on. So I'm going to say C. And this is going to print always? No, it's going to print when the variation equals C. That's pretty cool. So now let's minimize the I here, close the I. And we know we're going to work on layer A. So we're going to create a couple UDIs for GSH for this one. And we're going to say symbols of fonts. And we're going to specifically go to 4 that I already have here. I'm not going to show you the library. I'm going to say this one, first one, dump that there. And notice that I'm positioning myself on A because that is the one I'm editing right now, that layer. So I'm going to say shrink that. I'm going to create 4 of them here. I'm going to go and create another one, bring that down, symbols and font, create this one. Let's use this one. Now, I'm just more of showing you how easy and dynamically I'm able to change this based on layers and add GHS objects into the label. I'm going to pull this one here, and I'm just randomly picking now, right? This is where you are going to use the right ones for your right products. But for me, it's just demonstrating how we get to those symbols and fonts. And we're going to use this one, which is fire, and we'll say shrink. So now we have a variation. Whenever A comes into play, it will print this variation of the label. Now I'm going to push these up a bit. Let's get a preview just for so we could see how this label format is coming along, and it looks pretty darn good. So we're going to get close. Now we need to create the variations for layer. I'm going to close the I for layer B and C. Now that exercise might come, imagine it was 30 layers and you have to drag and drop all of these. That is a lot of work. So using components again, I'm going to create, I had created my UDIs, not this one. Here we go. Am I on the right layer? No. Saw that when I tried to drag and drop the component, it doesn't let me because I'm not on the right layer. And plus it's closed. So I need to put myself on B, allowing me to drag and drop the components this time. So now we have another variation. We're going to go back to layer 2, to layers, and we're going to say C and then bring in the other component. Look at that. It's still giving me an error because I'm not, the I is closed. So I need to open the I so I could modify this and add the second UDI here, which is through my component. So now I have 3 variations of the label. And, you know, depending on the data that I print, that is the variation that you would see. So it looks good. Let's close this and let's go back to layers so we could just get a visualization. So now that is with layer C. That is how it's going to print. That is going to print with layer B and layer A. Good. Looks good. So now what we need to create is a graphic interface for this operator to interact and either scan, type, or select the data. So for that, we use form tools. We're going to go to form 1. Notice where I'm going to, right? Now it's taking me to the form for that label. Now I'm going to expand on this one a bit here. And the first thing I need to know is let the operator know what this is. So we're going to say data entry for label design. Okay, good. Going to close that. We're going to do bold. We're going to blow that up and say 36. So now the operator knows, oh, okay, good. So this is data entry for this label. The first thing I need to capture is G10. So I'm going to say, look at my name data sources here. These are my variables. I'm going to say G10 is going to be captured via text input box. So either that person types this data in or scans this data in. This is typically used in receiving, where you scan data, BarTender captures the data, and then it might be connected to a database, and then it searches for the right product number, for example. But in this case, this person is just going to type in the G10, or he's going to scan in the G10. Perfect. We have G10. The next one we would want to get would be lot. So we need the lot. Now here we're going to use a different controller, and we're going to use a drop-down list. We're going to create the drop-down list, and we're going to go into the value and say, well, this is for lot. And within the lot, and I'm put myself in the wrong place. I need to go here. Because we're using this drop-down list, we need to create the list for it. So we're going to create a couple of lots, ABC1, ABC2. Oh, I'm missing the dash there. ABC-3. Perfect. So we now have a lot. We're doing another one just for kicks. We'll do ABCN and -4. Get another variation in there. It's totally fine. So now we know this is going to bring a drop down with those variables, and then I'm drag in the lot. So now another one we need is serial. So same thing. We're going to use serial. For the serial, we're going to use a drop down, not a drop down, but we're going to use a data entry. This means, you know, it's going to be captured manually. In the wrong object, we're going to go here and we're going to say this one is serial. I'll do there, put ourselves there because we want to be able to expand on that, and because it's Serial, I'm just going to expand on this. Now, it seems the font is a bit too big. Now, the last one we need is var, because we need to capture what layer do we want. So in this one, we're going to drop down list as well. And we're going to drag this one over, go into the value and change that to variation, which is var. And we're going to say then change and add the list, where we're going to have A, B, C, and D if we wanted to, right? But we don't have D. We know we don't have D. We just have up to A, B, and C. This is how I wanted to show you that we are able to create another layer if we wanted to. So now we have variation and all of that. The other thing too that I really like demonstrating, and Stephen showed this last time, was within the designer form, you are able to get a preview of the template, which is a good idea. We want the operator to get visualization of what's going on. So that is the preview of the template. My mouse is a bit trigger happy today. So we're gonna probably expand it more to the right. And look at that. So now we get a label, a preview of the template before this person actually clicks print. So now we have a ready to go template. Let's click on preview. And we're going to preview this out here now. Once preview is similar to print, it's not printing, but it gives you a visualization. That's what I want to show you. So now imagine here, we want the G10. This could be scanned, but I'm going to type that out. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Lot. What lot? We're going to use ABN-4. Serial number will be 2 5-digit number. And we could see, look at that, that 7 is not good. So we're going to be B. Let's see, A, that variation looks good. That variation looks good as well. Variation looks good. This is where this comes in handy, where before actually printing, what you see is what you get. So you know the G10 is a bit too big and is showing. So there's 2 things we could do. We're going to minimize here. We're going to escape and we're going to go back to the template. And we're going to go here. 2 things we could do. We could move the G10 more to the right, or what we could do is shrink the size of the barcode or the font, and we're going to, instead of doing 12, we'll do 10. So we could go back here and now try this. We're going to actually print this time. But the other thing too that we're missing, and the operator just noticed and told us, hey, I want to be able to select how many copies I want of this template. See here on the data sources, we have copies. We're able to say, I want to specify how many copies, and I'm going to use a number input box, allowing me now to specify copies. Instead of number, I'm going to say enter number. We're going to go here and say copies. So he knows, oh, this is for copies, right? Close. Now we'll probably have to pull that down so it doesn't look that funky. Now we have copies. Now we have a full data entry form that the operator could interact. We're going to do Control P, and it's going to tell me options. Data entry is enabled, and we'll do preview, because I want to show you the preview before we go into questions. So this brings up our data entry form. We're going to type in the G10, 13, and if I had typed additional data that was invalid, BarTender will let me know. It's only 13 characters, which is a real cool thing. If I click tab, now it works. Lot, we're going to do ABC1. Serial, we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Q, I just get some data there. We're going to say variation B, and I want 100 copies. Not 100, let's do 10. Then we'll do preview, and look at that. Gave me a preview of those templates that are going to be used with that RFID printer that I picked at the beginning. And so you could see all of the templates that would have been printed physically. Now, one thing I just mentioned is RFID. You might be asking, he said RFID, but he hasn't done an RFID anything. Now, this label or this printer I'm using has RFID capabilities. So because it has RFID capabilities, you can see RFID here at the top. I'm going to bring in a Rain EPC. Here within security, you're able to apply security today what I'm going to say is, look, it's an RFID EPC. I want to use the this this specific format, and I want the serial number to be unique. So I'm going to serialize this as well. And I'm going to say it's going to increment on numbers of 1, so we could preview the sequence. And that is how I would encode this RFID onto this label. It's already there, right? So whenever the operator clicks print and goes to the in this case, we'll do print so we could get, you know, an actual print. He'll type in the G10. There we go. I think I'm missing a digit. No, extra digit there, Roberto. And still missing. There we go. 13. We're going to say this one, serial number will do ABSD. And then we'll get variation B. And then I want 3 copies print. And that is how we would print and we'll design, add RFID forms to capture data, and then we would print. Now this is actually spooled up. I don't have enough time to go over History Explorer. If we wanted to see the print, we could use History Explorer. This goes into more of, you know, other companion apps, but today we're focusing a lot on the label design. And if you have additional questions on the other companion apps, feel free to type in your question. We could go over them today. Now, I am going to go, and this is, you know, going back to the presentation mode. I do want to open up for questions, right? Steven, do we have any questions that we could answer before we continue with the rest of the presentation?
Hey, Roberto, actually, and thank you. That was a great presentation. It looks like we're actually going to go, due to time constraints, we're actually not going to be going with questions right now. We're going to send them out after the fact, but there were a number of questions that popped up that we'll be answering going forward. So Stacy, I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, so if you haven't already, go ahead and drop your questions and we'll answer them at a later date. And then I'm going to pass it off to Ryan to see if he has anything else to say as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, next slide, please. Yeah, no, again, thank you, Roberto, for that great presentation. I hope you all learned something new from today's instruction. And so if you have any additional questions, as we've said, we'll, or as Stephen mentioned, we will be answering those afterwards and be sending you guys the answers, so we're not leaving you all without answering those questions. So if you have, but also we do have some additional resources for you to check out to continue your label design education. Next slide. The first resource that we have is our BarTender Support Center. That can be found at support.siegelscientific.com. Here you can find tutorial videos, technical guides and docs, and community forums for anything related to our products. Next slide. And then along with the Support Center, we also offer support services, including maintenance and support, which can help you get in touch with our support team to work through any labeling questions that you may have. Additionally, with our maintenance and support, you can also update to the latest BarTender software for free and upgrade your labeling with more powerful additions. And we also have our BarTender Professional Services team who can help accelerate your labeling workflow. They have a simple quick start program that can help you get up and running with a quick 2-hour session. But if you need more assistance with your labels, they do offer label design services, which includes an in-house team of broad and deep template label design and integration experience. The team can review your template label library for consolidation so you can create a more effective and efficient labeling solution. And finally, next slide, please. And finally, if you're interested in expanding any of your label design abilities, we do have an advanced label design course being held in December later this year. But again, we thank you all for joining today's session. We hope you have a great rest of your day.